Jarrett, and I'm going to be showing you my short story from lesson 6.23.4 for language arts. My short story is called The Hardest Summer Ever, and I'm going to read it for you. It was the worst summer break Jessica had ever imagined. It all started on the night her brother said he would follow in his father's footsteps and serve in the army. He had completed all the training and everything. Now he and Dad would just wait and see if and when they would be deployed. Even though Jessica was used to her father working in the army, she hated that her brother was doing it also. Her dad barely ever was deployed. She figured things wouldn't be that horrible. She was very close to her family. It was the middle of August. The long summer days were what Jessica loved most. Soon, in about 3 weeks, she would start school. She planned to enjoy these last weeks. That is when things started to change. Her brother and father had gathered everyone into a room. Her grandmother, aunts, uncles, cousins, they were all there. Of course, being 10, Jessica had no idea that her father and brother were going to announce they had both been deployed. The two of them would be leaving for Iraq in 2 weeks. Jessica looked around. She couldn't cry. She was scared. She watched the expressions of her family. They all jumped up to hug her family. Jessica didn't want hugs. She wanted answers. Answers to how this happened so quickly. Answers to why they were both leaving her. Answers to where the heck Iraq was. She was scared. Then she lost it. Running out of her grandmother's arm, she screamed and cried and ran as fast as she could into her room. "No!" she yelled. "This isn't happening." Her mother rushed after her. "Jessica, open this door now. Sweetheart, we need to talk." Jessica quietly opened her door. Her mom tried to talk to her. She told her how this was what God called them to do. They had to respect that. Jessica didn't want to hear it. She just cried. Finally, her mom gave her a list of Bible verses to read and walked out of her room. She read them. She just didn't feel like letting God split her family into 2 different countries. She tried to pray, but she just cried. She ended up crying herself to sleep. Finally, the August sun woke her up that morning. A note was at the end of her bed. She read it, realizing it was a scavenger hunt. Following the clue, she found a locket. When she opened it, it was a picture of her father and brother. She cried again. This time, the tears were out of happiness. She couldn't believe, after the way she had acted, her family would buy her a locket. Her brother came after her. "Hey, Jess, you like your gift?" I love it, Jason," she said, smiling her big smile with tears in her eyes. Her father and mother walked over, too. She smiled. "I have the best family," she thought in her head. "You know what? If God wants you guys to do this, do it. I know you will always be around my neck." Her family laughed and smiled. They walked down to the beach and enjoyed the rest of the week. Jessica knew it wasn't going to be quite the same soon. So she worked to make the most of it. Soon enough, her and her mom gave the men a very teary send-off. The next week, Jessica walked to her school. Still teary-eyed thinking of her father and brother, she squeezed the locket. When she arrived at school, she had to write and read aloud a paragraph on what they had done and learned over the summer. She sat writing about how she had learned that God sometimes gives people tough things to do. She wrote about the locket she would always wear until the other half of her family would be reunited. She wrote on how she had learned that these tough things would be okay. God only gave people what they could handle. As she read her paragraph to the class, she got those same wet eyes and gave her locket the same little squeeze. She knew she'd be all right. Things were changing, but it was all God's plan. Hope you guys liked my short story. Bye!